Have you ever wondered why some people seem to possess an almost supernatural ability to see through deception, to identify threats before they even fully materialize, while others stumble blindly through life, betrayed again and again by those they trusted most? What if I told you that this ancient skill, this warrior's intuition that can save your life, your relationships, and your future, was perfected over 800 years ago by a Japanese samurai whose name still echoes through history, as both legend and cautionary tale? Minamoto no Yoshitsune, the greatest military strategist Japan has ever known, developed what may be the most powerful psychological technique for reading human nature ever conceived, a method so precise that it allowed him to anticipate betrayal, identify enemies disguised as friends, and navigate the treacherous waters of human relationships with deadly accuracy. Before we dive deep into this life-changing wisdom, I need you to do something for me right now. Hit that like button if you've ever been betrayed by someone you trusted. Subscribe to this channel if you're ready to develop the same razor-sharp instincts that made Yoshitsune legendary, and drop a comment telling me about a time when you wish you had seen someone's true nature from the very beginning, because your story might help someone else recognize the warning signs we're about to explore. Together, the technique Yoshitsune mastered didn't just help him win battles against impossible odds. It revealed something profound about human nature that most people never learn, something that could transform how you see every interaction, every relationship, every person who enters your life from this moment forward. Picture this scene from 12th century Japan. A young warrior barely 20 years old stands before his older half-brother, the newly proclaimed Shogun Minamoto no Yoritomo, having just delivered the most decisive military victories in Japanese history. Yoshitsune had crushed the Taira clan in a series of brilliant campaigns, using tactics so innovative that military scholars still study them today. He had secured his brother's rise to absolute power. He had literally changed the course of Japanese civilization. Yet, as Yoshitsune approaches with news of victory, expecting gratitude and recognition, he notices something in his brother's eyes, something that makes his warrior instinct scream danger. Most people would have dismissed this feeling. After all, this was his brother, his ally, the man he had fought to elevate to the highest position in the land. But Yoshitsune had learned something that saved his life in that moment, and could save yours in countless situations. He had mastered the art of reading what he called the first question, that initial moment of interaction that reveals everything you need to know about another person's true intentions. Yoritomo's first words weren't congratulations or gratitude. They were questions designed to probe for weakness, to assess threat levels, to determine whether Yoshitsune had become too powerful, too independent, too dangerous to the new order. In that instant, Yoshitsune realized that his greatest enemy wasn't the defeated Taira clan. It was the person he had spent years fighting to protect. This brings us to the core of Yoshitsune's revolutionary insight into human psychology. What he discovered through years of warfare and political intrigue was that every person reveals their true relationship to you in the very first question they ask when you meet. Not their third question, not their casual conversation, but their initial inquiry, because this first question emerges from their unconscious mind before their social conditioning can filter and disguise their real intentions. Think about the last time you met someone new. What was the very first thing they wanted to know about you? Was it your name and background, suggesting genuine interest in you as a person? Was it your profession or status, indicating they were sizing up your value to them? Was it who you knew or where you came from, revealing their focus on connections they could exploit? Or was it a probing question designed to uncover vulnerabilities, weaknesses, or opportunities for manipulation? Yoshitsune realized that this first question functions like a psychological fingerprint. It's impossible to fake because it springs from the questioner's deepest motivations and reveals their fundamental approach to human relationships. The historical context makes this discovery even more remarkable, because Yoshitsune lived during the Genpei War, a period of unprecedented violence and betrayal, where samurai clans fought for ultimate control of Japan. In this environment, the ability to distinguish friend from foe could determine not just personal survival, but the fate of entire dynasties. Yoshitsune understood that warfare wasn't just about military strategy and superior numbers. It was about reading human nature with absolute precision, because the most dangerous enemies were often those who appeared as allies, those who smiled while planning your destruction, those who offered help while positioning themselves to strike at your weakest moment. The technique he developed was born from necessity, refined through experience, and proven in the most high-stakes situations imaginable, where a single misjudgment about character could result in death, defeat, and the destruction of everything he fought to protect. Let me share with you exactly how this technique works in 3 distinct levels that you can apply immediately in your personal life, your relationships, and your professional world. On the personal level, Yoshitsune's method helps you distinguish between genuine friends and those who see you as a resource to be exploited. When someone's first question focuses on what you can do for them, what you have that they might want, or how you might fit into their plans, you're dealing with someone who views relationships transactionally. True friends ask questions that demonstrate curiosity about who you are, not what you can provide. They want to understand your thoughts, your experiences, your perspectives, because they're genuinely interested in connecting with you as a human being. But when someone immediately wants to know your connections, your resources, your capabilities, in terms of what benefit they might derive, you're looking at someone who has already categorized you as either useful or disposable. This distinction becomes crucial because transactional relationships inevitably lead to disappointment and betrayal when your usefulness diminishes, or when maintaining the relationship requires more effort than the other person is willing to invest. In your relationships, this principle becomes even more crucial because romantic relationships built on false foundations cause immense suffering that can last for years or even decades. Yoshitsune observed that people reveal their true view of love and partnership in their initial inquiries, and this insight applies directly to modern dating and marriage. Someone who genuinely cares about building a meaningful relationship will ask questions that demonstrate interest in your inner world, your values, your dreams, your fears, the things that make you uniquely you. They want to know how you see the world, what experiences have shaped you, what you're passionate about, what you hope to accomplish in life. But someone who sees relationships as conquest, control, or convenience will focus their first questions on your availability, your vulnerabilities, your dependencies, your past relationships, your financial situation, your living arrangements, the areas where they can establish dominance or extract what they need. This isn't about being cynical. It's about developing the same acute awareness that allowed Yoshitsune to navigate a world where the wrong judgment about character could mean death. Professionally, this insight becomes your competitive advantage because business is fundamentally about relationships, and relationships are fundamentally about understanding motivations and intentions. When you meet potential business partners, clients, employees, or employers, their first question reveals whether they see business as collaboration or exploitation, whether they're interested in mutual success or personal gain at your expense. Those who ask questions designed to understand your goals, your vision, your approach to challenges, your values, your long-term objectives, are potential true partners who see business as an opportunity to create value together. Those who immediately probe for weaknesses, dependencies, ways to gain leverage over you, your desperation level, your alternatives, your pressure points are showing you exactly how they'll treat you once they have what they need from the relationship. Yoshitsune used this principle to build a network of loyal followers who remained faithful even when following him meant certain death, because he could identify who truly shared his values versus who was simply riding his success for personal gain. The psychological depth of this technique reflects Yoshitsune's understanding that most people operate from unconscious patterns and reveal their true nature before their social conditioning kicks in to hide their real intentions. In that first unguarded moment of interaction, before they've had time to craft a persona or manipulate their image, people show you exactly who they are and how they view relationships. This happens because the first question emerges from what psychologists call the unconscious mind, the part of our personality that contains our deepest beliefs, fears, desires, and motivations. When we meet someone new, our unconscious mind immediately begins assessing the situation, asking itself questions like, is this person a threat or an opportunity? Can they help me get what I want? Do they have something I need? Are they stronger or weaker than me? How can I position myself advantageously in this relationship? The first question that comes out of our mouth is a direct reflection of these unconscious calculations, which is why it's so revealing and why it's so difficult to fake convincingly. The tragic irony of Yoshitsune's story illustrates why this skill is so essential and why even the most skilled practitioners must remain vigilant about their own blind spots. Here was a man who could read enemies across a battlefield, who could anticipate military strategies days in advance, who could inspire absolute loyalty in his followers, yet he couldn't fully protect himself from the one person he wanted most to trust, his own brother. Even with his incredible insight into human nature, family bonds and emotional attachments created blind spots that his enemies exploited. This teaches us that the technique isn't just about identifying threats, it's about maintaining objectivity even in our closest relationships, because the people who can hurt us most are often those we're least willing to see clearly. Yoritomo's first questions to Yoshitsune after each victory weren't weren't about celebrating success or planning the future together. They were interrogations designed to assess whether his brother had become a threat to his power, whether he was becoming too independent, too popular with the troops, too influential with the emperor, too capable of challenging the established hierarchy. Now I want you to pause for a moment and think about the relationships in your life right now. Think about the people you trust most, the people you depend on, the people who have influence over your happiness and success. When you first met each of these people, what was their very first question to you? Can you remember that initial moment of interaction? If their first impulse was to understand you, to connect with you, to find common ground, to learn about your interests and experiences, you're probably dealing with someone whose friendship is genuine and whose loyalty will prove lasting. But if their first concern was cataloging your usefulness, testing your boundaries, positioning themselves advantageously in relation to you, assessing what you could do for them, you might need to reassess the foundation of that relationship and consider whether it's built on mutual respect or one-sided exploitation. This isn't about becoming paranoid or suspicious of everyone. It's about developing the same clear-eyed awareness that made Yoshitsune one of history's most effective leaders, the ability to see people as they truly are, rather than as we hope they might be. The modern applications of Yoshitsune's insight are limitless. Because human nature hasn't fundamentally changed in 8 centuries, people still reveal their fundamental approach to relationships in those unguarded initial moments. In our digital age, this principle applies to social media interactions, dating apps, business networking, online communities, even family dynamics during holidays and reunions. Watch what people want to know about you first when they slide into your DMs, when they swipe right and start a conversation, when they connect with you on LinkedIn, when they approach you at networking events, when they join your family gatherings or social circles. Are they trying to understand who you are as a person, your interests, your background, your perspective on life? Or are they immediately assessing what you might provide for them, your connections, your resources, your availability, your vulnerability to their influence? The pattern reveals everything about how they view human connections and how they'll treat you once the novelty wears off and the relationship settles into its true dynamic. Yoshitsune's method also reveals why some people seem to attract users, manipulators, and energy vampires, while others naturally repel such individuals and surround themselves with genuinely supportive relationships. The difference isn't luck or circumstances. It's the ability to recognize and respond appropriately to those first revealing questions. When you can quickly identify someone's true motivations, you can decide how much of yourself to invest in that relationship, what boundaries to establish, what information to share, what level of access to grant, and whether this person deserves your time, energy, and emotional investment. This skill becomes especially crucial for anyone in leadership positions, whether you're running a business, raising children, teaching students, managing employees, or simply trying to build a meaningful social circle, because your ability to assess character accurately determines the quality of every relationship in your life, and ultimately the success of every endeavor you undertake. The technique requires practice and emotional discipline because our natural tendency is to hear what we want to hear and see what we hope to see, especially when we're lonely, desperate for connection, excited about new opportunities, or really want a particular relationship to work out for our own reasons. Yoshitsune understood that wishful thinking is the enemy of clear judgment, which is why he trained himself to notice and analyze first questions objectively, without letting his desires, fears, or preconceptions color his interpretation of what he was observing. This meant accepting that some people who seemed charming, attractive, successful, or useful were actually threats in disguise, while others who might not have made the best first impression, or who seemed ordinary or unremarkable, were actually genuine allies worth cultivating over time. The goal isn't to become cold, calculating, or mistrustful of everyone you meet. It's to become wise and discerning, to develop the same protective instincts that allowed Yoshitsune to survive and thrive in one of history's most dangerous political environments. Consider how this applies to parenting and teaching the next generation, because children are naturally trusting and need to learn these skills to protect themselves as they grow up and begin forming independent relationships. Instead of teaching them to be afraid of everyone or to become cynical about human nature, we can teach them Yoshitsune's method of paying attention to how people approach them, what others want to know first, whether new acquaintances seem interested in them as individuals or focused on what they can get from the relationship. This gives children and young adults a practical framework for making friends, choosing romantic partners, and building professional networks based on genuine compatibility and mutual respect rather than exploitation and manipulation. The earlier they learn to recognize these patterns, the more protected they'll be from the kind of toxic relationships that can derail their development and damage their ability to trust others in the future. The business applications alone could transform your career, because every successful venture depends on your ability to choose the right partners, employees, mentors, advisors, and collaborators. Yoshitsune's technique helps you distinguish between those who want to build something meaningful together and those who see your success as an opportunity for their own advancement at your expense. When someone's first questions focus on your resources, your connections, your financial situation, your vulnerabilities, your dependencies, your competition, or your pressure points, they're showing you that they view business relationships as zero-sum games where someone wins and someone loses. But when someone asks questions that demonstrate genuine interest in your vision, your values, your long-term goals, your approach to challenges, your philosophy of business, and how they might contribute to mutual success and shared prosperity, you've found someone worth seriously considering as a true partner who will stick with you through both successes and setbacks. The deeper psychological principle at work here is that authentic relationships are built on genuine interest in the other person as a complete human being, while exploitative relationships are based on selective interest in what the other person can provide. Yoshitsune recognized that this fundamental difference shows up immediately in how people approach new relationships. What they want to know first, what they focus on, what they ignore, how they position themselves in relation to you. Someone who sees you as a person will ask questions that help them understand your inner world, your experiences, your perspective, your hopes and fears. Someone who sees you as a resource will ask questions that help them catalog your usefulness and identify your weaknesses. This distinction is so reliable that once you learn to recognize it, you'll wonder how you ever missed it before. As we reach the end of this exploration into one of history's most powerful psychological insights, I want you to understand that what we've discussed today isn't just historical trivia or philosophical speculation. It's a practical skill that could fundamentally change how you navigate every relationship in your life from this moment forward. Minamoto no Yoshitsune developed this technique through necessity, surviving in a world where the wrong judgment about character meant death. But you can apply the same principles to create deeper, more authentic connections while protecting yourself from those who would exploit your trust and goodwill. The ability to read that first question, to understand what it reveals about someone's fundamental approach to human relationships, gives you the power to invest your time and energy wisely, to build a circle of genuine allies who will support your growth and success, and to avoid the kind of betrayals that destroy lives and derail dreams. If this ancient wisdom has opened your eyes to new possibilities for understanding the people around you, do me a favor and subscribe to this channel, because we explore life-changing insights like this every week. Hit that notification bell so you never miss content that could transform your relationships and your life, and leave a comment sharing how you plan to apply Yoshitsune's technique in your own life, because your experience and insights might be exactly what another viewer needs to hear to finally see clearly the patterns they've been missing and the relationships they need to reevaluate. Remember, the greatest tragedy isn't being betrayed once by someone you trusted. It's failing to learn from that experience and walking blindly into the same situation again and again. But now you have the tools to see what Yoshitsune saw, to read what he read, and to protect what matters most to you with the same warrior's wisdom that made him a legend whose name still inspires respect and admiration 8 centuries after his death.